Independence Day!
Huh?
No!
Hey guys, I know it's been a while since I've uploaded anything, but this topic that we're gonna talk about today has kind of inspired me to rekindle the channel a little bit, and hopefully we can get some more content going. This is gonna be unscripted, so if I stumble over my words a little bit or whatnot, that's why. But basically, the inception of this video was last week. I finally got to go see The Brutalist, and I have a lot to say about it, and it didn't get a Canadian release until just last week, so that's why I didn't really, even on my Letterboxd, I hadn't posted on it like back in December when a lot of other places in America got to see it. That's why I haven't said anything till now. Basically what this video is going to be is kind of a mini review of the film itself, but more broadly I want to talk about some of the controversial things that have kind of sprung up in the wake of the film's release, and more specifically its use of AI. Also, I'm probably going to use less clips of the film in this video. I might have a few here and there, but my last few videos have kind of been hit with copyright stuff just because I've used clips, and that's fine because it's not like I'm really making money off this channel anyway right now, but I'd like for this video to maybe do better and not have any copyright issues. So it'll be mostly, I think, stills from the film or stills of news articles and things like that, and maybe a clip here and there. Turning to The Brutalist itself, you probably know that it's been getting a lot of awards attention. It's cleaning up at a lot of different shows, like the Golden Globes that won Best Picture Drama, and at the Academy Awards coming up, it has quite a few nominations. I think only Emilia Perez has more nominations, which that movie, I'm still haven't seen it, but I have no interest if you know anything about it. So I'm not here to talk about Emilia Perez, though. So it's been getting all this attention, and I think deservedly so. I think the movie is absolutely fantastic. For a 3.5-hour kind of throwback to epic cinema of the 50s, like, these great epic films like Ben-Hur, or, just these films that got the Cinerama kind of release with an intermission and an overture, and like it was shot on these great VistaVision cameras, which haven't been used in a long time. For that sort of epic scale and the length of the movie, which is like insane to release in theaters these days, I think the movie doesn't feel the length at all. And you do get an intermission halfway through. In case you don't know what The Brutalist is about in terms of its narrative, it's basically just the story of this really successful architect named Laszlo Toth, who is Hungarian, and he immigrates to the United States after the war, and he was, held in a camp and was rounded up with the rest of the Jews during the war. But this is his story kind of post-war, and his sort of odyssey to like create his success and survive in America post that period, and his struggle to also bring his wife and his niece over to America and kind of reconnect with them. But he also gets kind of noticed by this big rich guy type played by Guy Pearce, and he sort of hires him to build this massive cathedral that will be in this brutalist architecture style that, if you don't know what that means, I wouldn't look it up because it actually is kind of a spoiler for the film, but inevitably it leads to some conflict and just some really amazing storytelling. One thing I really have to point out about this movie is the incredible score by Daniel Blumberg. And the score is absolutely amazing. It just has this, like, it almost reminded me a bit of like something like Dunkirk or Oppenheimer's scores, which were both kind of playing on this aspect of time, and just it feels like this ticking clock that's sort of like also showing you the epic scope of just, it's a subject that really could not be very interesting. It's architecture, and it's, just the people in rooms talking about the plans of what they're going to do with this cathedral, and also mixed in with the drama of Laszlo's life. But the score really highlights just kind of his point of view and how he sees this odyssey that he's going on, and just it has this great epic scale. I'm going to say the word epic a lot in this video because it's true. It's actually an epic and not just a film that tries to be epic like so many other films that come out right now. But yeah, I thought the score absolutely elevated the film to a new height, and also it's possibly the most beautiful looking film of last year. That VistaVision process, it really kind of, some people may not like this, but it highlights the grain structure of the image, and it really makes you notice the grain individually kind of popping in and out, and there's scratches, and it doesn't seem to have gone through the same digital intermediate process to kind of remove those aspects. But I think it adds a real beauty to the film, and it really highlights some of the amazing architecture in the film and just the vistas that it's sort of trying to capture. I think director Brady Corbett does a really great job of sort of never deviating from Laszlo's point of view, and you're kind of with him on this ride for 3.5 hours, and you kind of have to force yourself to inhabit what he's experiencing. And he's not always the best guy necessarily. He has problems. He's not, going to always make the best decisions when it comes to his family life, or, he has to make sacrifices in order to survive, which I thought was a really cool dimension to the story. Performances all around are incredible. I think this is probably the best thing I've ever seen Adrien Brody in, and that's saying something because he's Adrien Brody. He's done a lot of great films, but I think he did such a fantastic job with both his dialect that he has to speak with in Hungarian. I mean, I don't know anything about the Hungarian language, but it seemed authentic to me just from my, sort of virgin point of view on this sort of thing. But that, as well as his just he does the emotional scenes so well. It's not movie crying or movie emotion, it's real emotion, and I think that he totally it's his film 100%. But Felicity Jones and Guy Pearce also are really stand out in the film. Yeah, just everybody and the above the line and below the line talent really just did an amazing job on this movie, and I think again, it doesn't feel like 3.5 hours. So that's kind of my mini review of the film. I think you should definitely go see it. If I had to give it a number grade, I guess I would give it a 9 out of 10. And the only check against it is some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about now. And it's both outside the film and inside of it at the same time. And we're going to get into that. Now, everything I'm going to be talking about in regards to this film's use of AI is it's both hot button at the moment in terms of a lot of other fields. AI is just a big issue in all aspects of society right now, but I'm going to frame it specifically just in the creative fields. Also, the report I'm looking at regarding this specific case is from Vanity Fair, so it is a legitimate source, and we're just going to go off of that. So essentially, the whole thing started when the editor of The Brutalist, and I'm going to be looking at my notes here, David Jansko, I think I'm pronouncing that right, gave an interview with Red Shark News, which he revealed that the production used Ukrainian software company Respeecher, which specializes in AI voice generation technology, to make Jones and Brody sound more authentic when they spoke Hungarian in the film. Jansko is also a native Hungarian speaker, and he said that he fed his own voice into the AI model, which was then used to help Jones's and Brody's characters nail some of the film's trickier Hungarian dialect. Most of their Hungarian dialogue, this is a quote from him, most of their Hungarian dialogue as a part of me talking in there. He told Red Shark News, we were very careful about keeping their performances. And Jansko said even that someone with Brody's Hungarian background, it's not an easy language to learn. It's an extremely unique language, he told Red Shark News. We coached Brody and Jones, and they did a fabulous job. But we also wanted to perfect it so that not even locals would spot any difference. So that's basically, he goes on a bit more, and that's regarding the film's use of AI to affect dialect and language in the film. But apparently, and this is where it gets tricky because there's confliction with this part of it. But apparently the film also used AI renderings of the Laszlo Toth-inspired blueprints and their completed buildings towards the end of the film. There's like a montage of buildings that he makes throughout his life in the film, and supposedly this is saying that they were partially AI generated. And Jansko said that it is controversial in the industry to talk about AI, but it shouldn't be. We should be having a very open discussion about what tools AI can provide us with. There's nothing in the film like using AI that hasn't been done before. It just makes the process a lot faster. We use AI to create these tiny little details that we didn't have the money or the time to shoot. Now, I'll get into how I feel about this in a minute, but the tricky part about that last bit is that director Brady Corbett is disputing the fact that he said that there was any AI rendering in the film. He doesn't deny the dialect enhancement with re-speecher. He says that definitely happened, but he conflicts with the report that they used any AI rendering for the buildings. When Brady Corbett put out a statement about this, he said, Adrian and Felicity's performances are completely their own. They worked for months with a dialect coach, Tanra Marshall, to perfect their accents. Innovative re-speecher technology was used in Hungarian language dialogue editing only, specifically to refine certain vowels and letters for accuracy. No English language was changed. This was a manual process done by our sound team and re-speecher in post-production. The aim was to preserve the authenticity of Adrian and Felicity's performances in another language, not to replace or alter them, and done with the utmost respect for the craft. And this is where he gets into the generative AI. The Brutalist production designer Judy Becker and her team did not use AI to create or render any of the buildings. All images were hand-drawn by artists. To clarify, in the memorial video featured in the background of a shot, our editorial team created pictures intentionally designed to look like poor digital renderings circa 1980. Okay, so that was a lot to unpack. That's why I was kind of stumbling over my words a lot, because it's a lot of things to sort of go over. Now, in my personal opinion, in regards to AI use in creative fields, period, as somebody who is trying to become a writer himself and is trying to, as somebody who's trying to show my creative voice in all of the projects that I work on, I think AI has no place in any creative industry personally. And I know some people are going to disagree with me on that, and that's totally fine. But I think it is completely, removing the reason why anybody consumes art in the first place. And at least anybody with any intelligence, in my opinion, you're looking for, when you watch a film or you read a great novel, you're not looking for just some story to be regurgitated back out to you. You're looking for a creative voice, and you can tell like a person created this. And it's not just being regurgitated by an algorithm that is saying like, oh, I'm going to take, and that's the other thing, it steals from, artists' works from previous things because it can't create without that. But basically, that you're not looking at something that's just an amalgamation, a Frankenstein monster of like other things that you've seen told by a machine, and you can tell that it's told by a machine because it's soulless, basically. And also the fact that it is very scary as somebody who wants to be a creative, because if you want to do this for a living, AI is going to make this in the future much harder for people like me. And I know people will say to that, like, oh, you should just get a real job, and like this is just the future, you should just let it happen. And to that I say, no, I'm gonna fight for what I believe in, and I think that AI has no place in creative fields. I don't think that this should be controversial at all. I think everybody should be on the same page with this, but I'm obviously going to upset some people by saying that, and that's fine. Now, specifically turning to The Brutalist, it's tricky, because if you look at it just from an isolated incident standpoint, is the use of re-speecher to tweak little things for dialogue that's not really a big part of the film, is that in a vacuum, is that problem? Probably not. It's not really affecting the film on a wide level at that point, but it's not in a vacuum. And I would say to that if you allow these sorts of things to happen, it just creates a domino effect where they're like, oh, let's see what we can get away with next on our next project. And it just keeps building from there. And it's like the old saying, you can't give an inch on these things because they will take a mile, and they, in this case being Hollywood studios, who just want to care about their bottom line and want to just cut out every little job that they can to get maximized profits, so that basically in the end all that's left is an executive, a director, and an AI doing everything else. So, and maybe not even that, maybe just the AI at some point. So in this isolated incident, the Reese feature thing, I guess, isn't a big deal, but it is at the same time. Now, going to the supposed use of generative AI with the designs of the buildings in the film, to me, that is like abhorrent if that's true, because the entire point of the film, like, it's so hypocritical, if you ask me. The entire point of The Brutalist is the beauty of human ingenuity and what that can kind of compel people to move past so many like traumatic things in their life and to like use their creative spark. It tells them who they are, and it basically, in many cases, if they didn't have that, they would just die, and like it can shape massive things in the world. Like, I don't want to spoil the film too much, but like, if you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So if that's true, I think that is far more egregious than the respeeching technology. But the problem is Brady Corbett is denying that this is even true. So with that one, it's a lot of he said, she said. So it's like, with that one, we can't really have a deep discussion on it because we don't know. Now, there's two questions that kind of rise up in the aftermath of us talking about this. And one of them is, do I recommend the film? Absolutely, I do. I do think you should go see it, and I do think it wouldn't be fair to punish all of the actual artists who did work their asses off to create a beautiful piece of art that just will, I think this movie will stand the test of time, especially if AI goes in a bad direction, just because like it'll be a testament to what human ingenuity, what it can be in the grand scheme of things. So I do think that you should go see it despite some of these problems we've been talking about. The second and much bigger question is, what do I think this film's Oscar prospects are, and what should they be, really? I think this film still has a really good chance of taking home the big prizes like Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor for Adrian Brody, stuff like that. Do I think it should? Not necessarily. One, because I do think that there were films from last year that I did enjoy more, and The Brutalist is in my top 10 for last year, but it's definitely not, it's like lower on the top 10 for me. And that's not to say it's a bad film at all. I loved it, but there was a lot of great films last year. Dune Part 2, Anora, I think, was incredible. Wicked was great. So many other things. We Live in Time, which didn't even get any awards recognition, which was a shame. There's a lot more deserving films that I think, as far as I know, didn't use AI. That's another thing. Like, we have no clue to what extent the technologies have been used in a lot of these films, because like, we only know about The Brutalist using it because of that interview, right? So that's the other thing, is we don't know the extent of this. I also think that if all of this news comes out, despite how small seeming it is, it's not like the movie was generated by AI entirely. It obviously wasn't, but just the fact that this is a very high profile instance of AI being used in any capacity, and it's affecting actor performances at that, being up for all these awards, I think rewarding it for that would be a real Pandora's box moment, where once we've opened this and we've acknowledged it, it's going to be hard to put it back in. And I almost think that because of that news story, this may seem harsh, I don't think this film should be getting the big awards that it's up for, because I'm very scared of the prospects of what could happen if it does. But that's just me. If you feel differently, that's totally fine. Let me know how you feel in the comments, but be respectful about it. Don't just act like 80% of the internet does. This was a really fun video to make in the end, and I wanted to talk about this. If you want to see more sort of hybrid review discussion type things like this in the future, let me know. And just let me know what kind of videos you'd like to see in general, because I like making these. They're a lot of work, but they're fun. Yeah, so have a great day, guys, and I'll see you soon.